This is part 2 of my side effects of epilepsy videos. I mentioned in the last one, it's been a bad day for seizures with me, so I'm very tired and things aren't processing well. I'm having a lot of issues speaking, and I keep fiddling with things. Like, I'm spinning back and forth in my chair, which I probably shouldn't because it might make the lights screw with you. Only 97% of epileptics are not photosensitive, but 3% are. So that means if 100 people watched my video, then there's a chance that 3 of them could be photosensitive, and I don't want to do anything that could make that bad. Being epileptic, this is totally off track, but I don't care. I've only met one person who was photosensitive, and I thought that was so cool, but that's a big misconception. Anywho, getting into this is the emotional side effects of epilepsy, and a big thing that I put like in all bold underlined is my light just turned off. That's wonderful. Well, this is going to be a poorly lit video. A big thing I put about these is most emotional side effects of epilepsy can cause seizures. So it's just a continuous loop, starting with depression. You get depressed, you can have a seizure. You have a seizure, you get more depressed. You get more depressed, you have more seizures. And depression is a really big part of it, and it can be caused by the seizures, like I said. A lot of mental health is from the same area of the brain, and yeah, if the seizures screw with that, then it's kind of sucks. I have really bad mental health issues, and I act really stupid. It's hard for me to talk about this kind of stuff because I don't like thinking about it, but depression. It really screws with how you live your life. And a big thing is, no, like, depression meds have ever helped with my depression. They've always made it worse. And that really sucks. But if that part of my brain isn't doing its job, meds don't typically help. And like, the depression gets really bad. Like, I have chronic depression, and it's very hard to live an everyday life. And like I said, depression causes more seizures. So if I'm having a worse day than most, I'll have more seizures that day. That's what's going on with me today. But I don't want to start crying. I already did that once in the video. The next thing I have is anxiety, which goes hand in hand with depression. And depression is feeling down and not feeling like doing anything, and anxiety is constantly feeling like things are wrong and trying to do everything, and it's racing thoughts and fear and all that. And I'm sure you know what anxiety is. And I have chronic anxiety as well. So it's constantly a battle going on in my own head, along with seizures. And a lot of people with epilepsy have this. And it really does suck. The emotional part of epilepsy is probably the hardest part for me. It really does screw with me and my everyday life and people in my lives, because it's very difficult. Like I said, meds don't help, so it's just something I kind of have to deal with. But it's not easy. The next thing I have is strange feelings of fear and panic. This can be because you're having a seizure, but it's also just kind of always there. A big thing I read and I've seen in common with other people is you can be seizure free for as long as you want, but there is always that fear that you can have a seizure at any moment and lose everything. I started having seizures again, and I was doing really good. I didn't realize I was having smaller seizures, but I thought I was seizure free, but I could still live my everyday life. I had a car, a job, a license. I was doing really well. I was happy. And then I started having seizures again, and I had all of that ripped from me. And everyone has that fear that they're gonna have all of that ripped from them. And that's just a part of epilepsy, and that's not even like a side effect that the brain does. That's just a side effect that you have because of the epilepsy. Like, it's not physically caused from the seizures. That's just caused by worry that any person would have. The next thing I have is hysteria, which goes hand in hand with irrational or overly sensitive. When I have my seizures, I will just start crying and freaking out, and that's when they get into worse seizures, like partial complex partial seizures. I will just start crying and crying and crying and acting completely hysterical, and not in a funny way. I don't know why that's used, but it can't be controlled either. And I thought I was like that normally, and then I found out it was because I was having seizures. But like you lose friendships and stuff over that, because you act a way people don't want to deal with. Especially as you get older, people really start seeing it as immature, and it is really difficult. But I know a lot of people are like this. I'm in a whole bunch of communities where I post about it, and so many people agree. And on top of that comes being irrational and impulsive. I went gambling this past weekend, and probably, this is the impulsive part, probably won about $400. I went there with like 130, and I won all that money and then left with $55 because I just kept pressing buttons and doing things, even though typically I wouldn't be like that. But because I'm being so impulsive lately and everything with my seizures, like I don't know what got in my head. And on top of that, I shouldn't have gone to a casino because it was super overstimulating. But I just wanted to do stuff because my seizures are getting worse. But I'm getting off topic again. Being irrational. On top of that, fear and panic is constantly worrying about things that are completely out of your control. Someone will tell you, like, we need to talk. And I know that's kind of an anxiety inducer, but I will overthink about that until that talk comes. And if that talk never comes, I will constantly think about it for like months on end. And I will blow things out of proportion completely and completely get sucked into an emotion, and it'll make me act completely irrational. And that kind of plays with being oversensitive, because the smallest thing will turn into the biggest thing in my mind, and I thought that was normal. Turns out it was seizures. But that's a big thing that a lot of people don't realize, is a lot of the emotional aspects of our lives, it's not us being crazy, it's literally us having seizures and side effects of seizures. And if you can't handle that, or if someone tells you that and you don't believe them, you should probably look into it or tell them that directly to their face. Like with me, like I said, I didn't know they were seizures, so I thought I was acting crazy too. Next thing I have is extreme loneliness and sadness. And also, like, not remorse, but almost feeling like a burden to people. That's another thing where it's not physically a side effect of epilepsy, but because you have epilepsy, it does happen. I can't think of the words, but you get really lonely because you're surrounded by people who don't have epilepsy and people who don't understand, and you feel like you're battling alone. I know I'm battling this and I have family who supports me, but I've only had one person who wasn't epileptic who I felt like was helping me battle. And you just feel really alone and really sad because you kind of feel like no one else understands. That's why I make these videos, to let other people know, like, I understand. I get what people are going through. I'm trying to tell other people what people are going through, because it really does suck being, especially if you can't do anything. Like, I lost my job, know that I can't go out without someone, and it is really lonely being in the same room all day long, or the same house, and not being able to do everyday things when you know other people can. And you know, alongside that comes sadness. You know, I'll randomly start crying throughout the day because I'll just remember, like, this isn't the life that I used to live. I used to be a person who didn't have seizures, and there's nothing wrong with being epileptic, but you feel like there's something wrong with it because no one else really gets you. And that's a really big thing with it, definitely on my side at least. But I'm not gonna get too much more into that. On top of that comes stress. Depending on where your seizures are in your brain or just what they cause, stress is a really big thing. And like I said, all of these things can cause you to have seizures. So your epilepsy is causing you to do these things, and then those things are causing you to have more seizures. And stress is another big one. Stress is one of the main causes for my seizures, but everything stresses me out. Everything. Can you be quiet? That's my lizard. I think he's trying to kill something. But everything stresses me out because I overthink everything and I get in my own head a lot, which is ironic because, you know, my head's getting in its own head, kind of. It's not really how I would explain epilepsy. It sounded better in my head. But yeah, it's very stressful just having it, and then it can cause stress. And like I said, you stress yourself out because you can't do things. I don't know if you can hear him, but I don't know what he's doing. And I'll just leave that there for stress. The next thing I have is hopelessness. If you're having seizures, you feel like you're never gonna stop having them. I started having seizures again, like bad ones, after a year and a half of not having any. And then that year and a half was just because of breakthrough seizure, and before that it had been 6 months. So it had been like 2 years since I had stopped having seizures. And I started having them again, and it's just, you never know if you're gonna stop having them. You never know if the meds are gonna work, because there still are breakthrough seizures, and breakthrough seizures can cause you to start having more seizures. And it's just, you never have that hope in yourself, because epilepsy is something that no one can help you with. If you're having a seizure, no one can pull you out of that seizure. There's no cure for epilepsy. There's always that, like I said, there's always that fear that you can have another seizure. And it really does put a damper on you. And it's a lot for other people to deal with epilepsy. So it's really a lot for someone who has epilepsy to deal with it. And like I've been saying, like, I feel like I'm dying, and it doesn't even necessarily mean, I don't know what he's doing. It doesn't even necessarily mean that like, my body is dying, but I'm losing who I am as a person. I'm slowly losing my abilities and like my train of thought and stuff. And I feel that in my head almost. Like, I feel myself losing everything and everything degrading. And it really sucks. And on top of that, I said it changes your whole demeanor, or demeanor, as I typed it. You start viewing things differently, and everything, and I mean everything, revolves around your epilepsy. There's never something you do that you don't think about your epilepsy first. And a lot of things you can't do because of your epilepsy. And the last thing I have for emotional is just how self-conscious you get. You know, I've had seizures where I've woken up with a crowd of people around me, and that is the worst thing, because you just immediately start crying, and all these people are just staring at you, and it's so embarrassing. Like, everyone I know who has epilepsy is embarrassed by it, because you lose control. It's the worst thing to lose control of your own body. And it's really hard. I knew this was going to be the toughest one to get through, the emotional one, because like I said, this is the one that affects me the most. But yeah, that was only like 9 things. And that took me 16 minutes to get through because it's so in-depth. There's so much. Sure, it causes these things and people know that, but I'm giving the reasons why it's so stressful. And that's where I'm gonna leave that one. I'm probably gonna take a few minutes between this and the next one, because this one was really hard to get through, and today's already it's already been a bad day, and like now I'm overthinking it and stuff, so I probably need some time. But I will make the next one. I'll probably upload them all at once anyway, so you won't know the difference. But yeah, this is the really tough part, is the emotional damage that's going on inside your head, because you can't really get rid of it, and it's the way you think and the way you live your life. So this is the biggest one that I want people to keep in mind. And if I forgot any emotional things that other people suffer with, tell me, and then I can make like a second video with the physical, emotional, and social all in one with the things I forgot. But seriously, like, tell me in the comments what you think about this. This is a really, these 3 videos, this little, I don't know what the word is, but this is a big one that I really want people to see. And like, I'm not saying this to like grow fame or anything, but like, show people these. And like, because had there been a video about this when I started making friends, I would have shown them this beforehand, because it shows that you're not alone and you're not crazy. I've had so many people call me crazy, and I just want to get this out there. So yeah.